Buzz Burbank. News and comment.
For the next few minutes, and only for the next few minutes, I promise, you are Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Your approval rating has fallen to 37% once again, at your personal worst on that scale. And although very few minds get changed by anything these days, 15% of the people now familiar with the contents of the Mueller report say they didn't, but now do, believe that you or people close to you have broken the law. The report that so many people have now read paints you as a paranoid liar who encourages others to hide the truth. At first, you proclaimed the report had exonerated you. Now you're calling it a total hit job by true Trump haters. The primrose path to no collusion, no obstruction laid by you and your new attorney general has been overwhelmed by a portrait much less flattering than the one you bought with money other people donated to your fake charity foundation. Your claims of fake news were disproven in the Mueller report. The journalists at what you call the failing New York Times, Pulitzer Prize winners, were the most correct, the most often. Your fake media were right about you trying to fire Mueller, right about you asking Comey to go easy on Flynn, right about you asking for Comey for loyalty, right about your lie that you had no business dealings with Russia as your lawyer jockeyed for a deal to make you millions there. The media was right about your lie of the Trump Tower meeting, right about Manafort's foreign involvements, right about Flynn being susceptible to blackmail, right about you trying to get intelligence officials and others to declare you innocent, right about your campaign's many contacts with Russians, right about your campaign trying to set up back channels of communication with Russia, and right about your eagerness to get Russian dirt on Hillary. As Washington Post book critic Carlos Lozada points out, the Mueller report gives even more credence to Michael Wolff's book Fire and Fury and robs even more credibility from you. It shores up what James Comey wrote in his bestseller A Higher Loyalty. It has shades of Bob Woodward's book Fear, writes Lozada. At 448 pages, and not nearly as creatively written, the Mueller report was at no profit also a nonfiction bestseller, topping the Amazon chart and downloaded by millions of people and permanently ensconced in history. So many people have read that report now, or credible summaries of it. So many people now have seen what you have done, and they've seen that the reports were true, all for trying to improve the cash value of your name. Now, even the Mueller report is calling out the bidding you've done for Russia, your first national security advisor telling Russia not to worry about sanctions for invading Ukraine, and then lying to the FBI about it, as you praise Vladimir Putin for not retaliating against those sanctions. Yeah, Mueller noticed it too. Your pursuit of the Trump Tower Moscow deal during the campaign and giving your lawyer free rein to lie to Congress about the dates after you yourself had lied about that deal in the campaign. People now know you were lying when you said you had fired Mike Flynn, not because he'd lied to Mike Pence or because Flynn was compromised by Russia. We now know the truth, as you explained to Chris Christie, that you believed that firing Flynn would stop the FBI's Russia probe. You have learned from the Mueller report that your own people are intentionally not carrying out your orders because they think you're dangerous or nuts. You find out you've been disregarded by your once chief of staff and your once top advisor. You find out the greatest resistance to you and your agenda came not from the courts you've attacked or the Congress you've attacked, but as the New York Times points out, the resistance came from inside the White House. The resistance that has thwarted and weakened you as a president has come from your own branch of government, not the others. Even though you won't find it in the Constitution, it's a check and balance on the president that responds much more quickly than either the Congress or the courts, not that you'd bother to check. Two of your ex-lawyers have squealed on you, your old personal fix-it lawyer, even your White House counsel. You find out that their notes and their testimony supplied brushstrokes for this unflattering portrait of you. Your own attorney general refused to do your bidding, so you fired him, and all the others, you believe, have betrayed you. But you find out that much of what's in the Mueller report came from those three attorneys, Cohen, McGahn, and Sessions. You find out that even today, your people are managing you, not the other way around. People now know how many times you said you couldn't remember when you were asked questions by the special counsel's investigators. At least 37 times. They heard you that time in October 2017 that you have, quote, one of the great memories of all time. But even you know that 37 is a lot of not remembering. And people already knew you had refused to answer follow-up questions or any questions about obstruction. The Mueller report laid bare your claim there was no obstruction by listing about a dozen instances of it, and these 4 in particular: your firing of Comey and the odd meetings that led up to it, putting the squeeze on Jeff Sessions to limit or stop the investigation, your witness tampering, encouraging Paul Manafort not to cooperate with the Mueller team, and trying to get the White House counsel to fire Robert Mueller, and when he wouldn't do it, you fired the White House counsel. And now Congress has subpoenaed your ex-White House counsel, Don McGahn, who turned out to be the most significant witness against you in the Mueller probe, to testify publicly on May 21st. According to that report, McGahn was witness to your attempted obstruction at least 3 or 4 times. His name appears in the Mueller report 157 times, at least once, in connection with your apparent witness tampering. McGahn told Mueller a lot, and it's in that report. So you make McGahn and Mueller your new prime targets for public character assassination. Maybe you didn't understand that the White House counsel and his president do not have the attorney-client privilege afforded to the rest of us. White House counsel works for the presidency, not the person. And because you gave McGahn permission to speak to Robert Mueller, you have already waived any executive privilege claim over him, and you cannot take it back. And what you and your attorney general and your other supporters don't appear to get is that attempted obstruction under the law is obstruction. And maybe you forgot or never knew that it was Nixon's White House counsel who was the key witness in that impeachment. You hate weakness, especially in yourself. You are hurt and angry and determined to save your presidency and salvage the name you spent decades nurturing. Your name was what running for president was all about. You never thought you'd actually win. You had told Michael Cohen you were doing it as a big infomercial for your resorts and hotels. So, in the wake of the Mueller report, you fight back, put up a brave front, go on the offense, tell reporters you're not even a little worried about impeachment, insisting, quote, "Nobody disobeys my orders." Your unpresidential language has gone more public than ever. You've now openly tweeted barnyard epithets and slang for group masturbation to tens of millions of people. You go to your Florida resort and play golf on the taxpayer's dime again, but it's raining. And once the rain stops, playing a few holes with your buddy Rush Limbaugh will absolutely not take your mind off your job. You share your pain with his sympathetic ear, someone who has not yet burned you, and at the same time give Limbaugh some fodder for his radio show the next day. You send out tweets. You lash out on Twitter in an extended tirade, bragging about that which you think you've accomplished and venting your anger at the usual targets more than 50 times in 24 hours at the rate of 2 or 3 tweets per hour. You tweet over 100 times in just the 5 days that follow the release of the Mueller report to try to defend yourself and attack your attackers. You not only lash out on Twitter, you lash out at Twitter. You send out your TV lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, to say there's nothing wrong with accepting information from Russians. First thing Monday morning, you and the company you've said you're not running file a joint lawsuit you cannot win against House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings to try to stop his subpoena of your financial records, business and personal. The head of the executive branch is asking the judicial branch to keep the legislative branch from investigating the appearance that the president has committed loan fraud. And all of this is going down while you were on a roll yourself. You put in a brief obligatory appearance at the annual White House Easter egg roll, where you'll have to watch your language for the kids as you put in a plug for your border wall. Your new White House chief of staff is not like the others, not like Reince Priebus or John Kelly, who tried to rein you in. You've rid yourself of the ones often called the adults in the room. Your new acting White House chief of staff, who doesn't hear from you as much as his predecessors, lets you be you. Since you brought on your budget director, who also runs the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, to also be your acting at arm's length chief of staff, you've gotten to do a lot of stuff the first two kept you from doing. Mick Mulvaney has freed you to shut down the government for the longest stretch in U.S. history. You shook up the entire leadership of Homeland Security. You even got meaner in your immigration policies. You've asked a court to kill Obamacare once and for all, and you've kept the staff on their toes, not knowing exactly what your policy is on North Korea. The Mueller report showed the rest of us that your previous chiefs of staff tried to protect you from yourself, but this one let you be you. You likely did not read the part of the Mueller report that says the president's efforts to influence the investigation were mostly unsuccessful, largely because the persons who surrounded the president declined to carry out orders. Among the many things you don't seem to get is that the people you fired were trying to protect you, and they're gone now. In Washington and across the country, the word impeachment is now more than just a whisper. Democrats who were reluctant to pursue impeachment before the Mueller report are now reconsidering, and the I word is all over the news. Because you are Donald J. Trump, and this is the mess you've made.
Buzz Burbank, news and comment.